started, just a few announcements, not a whole lot that I'm aware of. See, Dewey's here. Is your mom doing any better? Or?
They're doing better, but they're still pretty sick.
Yeah.
Still coughing a lot.
Yeah. Well, I talked to Lewis. Lewis is sick too. Does he have the same thing your mom does? Or?
No, he's got an upper respiratory and I forget what else they call it. But anyways, he's still coughing quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
Mom's still got pneumonia.
So remember Lewis and Tanya in our prayers there. They're still under the weather sick. And Carla's been sick, I guess. I wasn't aware of that till I saw it in the bulletin this morning. Josh, I texted him earlier this week, and he said he was down in Texas, and he was at his aunt's funeral, passed away. His aunt passed away this week. Karen? Oh, Betty Lane's under the weather. Yeah, if she's not here, she's not feeling good. She's always here on the stables. Let's see here. Stephen George passed away this last week, and Virgil Nelson's surgery's been postponed, and Kelly Landers had a hip lateral tear, and I imagine that's probably why they're running later, not here this morning. She'll see a surgeon on that issue. Are there any other announcements that aren't in the bulletin need to be made? Added?
My mom found out this last week that she has breast cancer.
Oh, no. What's your mom's name? Titus?
Tylese.
Tylese found out this week that Monday that she's got breast cancer.
She goes into the 12th for with the surgeon and proceed on kind of develop a plan of action.
Oh, okay. On Thursday, you said?
On
Oh,
the 12th,
the 12th. She'll go in to learn more about how to fight or what to do. And if there's nothing else, Robbie, if you would, open us in prayer.
Our God and Father, which art in heaven, we thank you for the day, this beautiful day you've given us. Worship you in spirit and truth. Thank you for church here. We thank you for Eric teaching this class. We pray, Father, for those that are sick and afflicted. Pray you will heal them so much more than needed help. Pray, Father, you will watch over this congregation. Help us, Father, to do your work here in this community, that we may grow and bring people to Christ, which everlasting to them. Watch over us this day and through our lives, and watch Eric and Pete teach us this morning. We take the word and apply it to our lives and live the way that we please to thee. With these things we ask in thy Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
All right. Well, we're going to continue on, and I guess the slide says I am my brother's keeper, so we figured that out last week when we asked if we're our brother's keeper. So anyways, we're going to continue on that thought this morning. This morning we're going to talk about encouraging our brother. What things we can do to encourage our brother. And we're going to start in 2 Timothy here in a few moments. 2 Timothy chapter 1, if you want to be turning that direction. 2 Timothy chapter 1, and we're going to start down in verse 16. We're going to read 16 through 18. And I hope everybody has lots of comments to make this morning and such to help me out. You ever wake up and you just don't feel just 100%? That's the way I woke up this morning. I don't feel like I'm clicking at 100%. But so if I fall out, he'd say, well, we got somebody that helped me out, right? 2 Timothy chapter 1, starting in verse 16. I'm going to read verses 16 through 18 here. The Lord grant mercy to the household of Onesimus, for he often refreshed me and was not ashamed of my chains. We're talking about, Paul's talking here. But when he arrived in Rome, he sought me out very zealously and found me. The Lord grant to him that he may find mercy from the Lord in that day. And you know very well how many ways he ministered to me in Ephesus. All right, so what are some of the ways here that we're going to look at different encouragement examples that we see here this morning? What is some things Onesimus had done to encourage Paul that we read here?
He visited him in prison.
Okay, visit him in prison. That just Paul being a prisoner. Think about that today. It's not a whole lot different. How many people go to prison to visit? I mean, I know that of some prison ministries that we do. I'll admit I don't get involved in that. You know why? I'm scared to go to prison. I'm scared of what goes on there. I'm scared of the people that are there. And here, Paul, we know about Paul's example. We know what kind of man Paul was. But what kind of people was he surrounded by? Who's in prison? Are those good people, we'd say? Criminals. So it took a lot of encouragement for Onesimus to go. And can you imagine how Paul felt to have somebody? Did Onesimus just happen upon finding Paul there? What did he do? He searched. He seeked him out. But that's definitely commended. Is it tough?
No, it's not tough. To me, they're just good girls, sweet girls that made very bad choices. And they're suffering the consequences of those choices. But sometimes I think God has them there for a reason. You know, while they're there, they don't have much to think about or access to their bad choices. So they have to listen when we come in. They don't have to. They can choose to shut their door or not. But anyway,
Well,
I love them. I mean, I think they're special. They just, some of them have never known what real unconditional love is. They have no clue.
and hopefully, what are you doing when you go to visit them? You're encouraging them, aren't you? How encouraging that is to them. If I happen to be in prison, I would feel very encouraged for somebody to come in. And what's that going to hopefully lead to? When they get out someday, what? Salvation. A chance to turn their life around. And that's what we're to do as Christians, aren't we? What's our job? Just to make sure I make it to heaven? Teach. Bring others with us. That's our job. Going back to Onesimus, though, what's some other things that he did? He sought Paul out. Sometimes when we're down, Paul was a human, wasn't he? You think he was just, I'm sure he was putting on a good front, but do you think deep down he was a little discouraged? And what do we need when we're discouraged? We need a encourager. We need a friend. And Onesimus was a friend. He was there. So we got some examples there of what Onesimus did. Flip over to, let's go to another verse here. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Oops, it help if I get my... 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, get a volunteer to read verse 14 there.
Now we exhort you, brethren, warn those who are unruly, comfort the faint-hearted, uphold the weak, be patient with all.
All right. What version did you read out of there? What's your, is that the...
First, 14.
No. What version? Is that
Oh, this is King James.
King James? Anybody have, there's all kinds of, this verse here, there's a lot of different words that are used, all meaning the same thing. We're going to talk about those here in just a minute. Anybody have the New King James version? Read 14.
Now we exhort you, brethren, warn those who are unruly, comfort the faint-hearted, uphold the weak, be patient with all.
There we go.
That's the New King James.
Yep. And anybody have another version, NIV or New Stand? Yeah, what does that say?
And we urge you, brothers and sisters, warn those who are idle and disruptive, encourage the disheartened, help the weak, be patient with everyone.
There we go. The New American Standard says, we urge you, brothers and sisters, abolish the unruly, encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, and be patient to everyone. The American Standard says, "We exhort you, brethren, admonish the disorderly, encourage the faint-hearted, support the weak, be long-suffering toward all." And then the last version here, I looked at the Revised Standard, says, "We exhort you, brethren, admonish the idlers." We hear that word again, idlers. "Encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, and be patient with them all." Let's look first at this first part here. Unruly, idlers. What would you call those people? What's another word we could use for? Which one? Heathens? Lazy. That was the word I had thought. Lazy is what came to my mind. Idlers, lazy, unruly. What are we to do for them? Be patient. The very first, now we warn. Why would we be needing to warn people like that?
We need to help wake them up.
Wake them up. Yep. And I think we all, at some times, are in that point. There's days I'm lazy. There's days I'm an idler. Today probably would have been one of those days if I hadn't had to teach class this morning, laying there in bed, wasn't feeling just right. It'd been so easy just to be. But what kind of warning do I need to hear?
Well, the warning that you're talking about, when it's talking about these people, it's talking about people who don't want to do anything, any day.
Well, there we go.
They're
Yep.
lazy every day.
Well, but laziness started with day one, didn't it? Yep. And what's going to happen to a lazy idler?
He's going to lose his soul.
Lose their soul.
Somebody just doesn't want to get up.
Yep. And as far as brethren, when we see somebody headed that direction, we need to warn them. We need to be there for them, encouraging them to get back with it.
Your people need a daddy like mine. Encourage them.
He had a,
You'd be a little more productive.
he had a little way of encouraging you.
This letter is written to people. I don't know that they were in and of themselves lazy. They thought Jesus was coming, and his coming was going to be imminent. So they stopped work, and they were just sitting, waiting for Jesus. And Paul is telling them, you don't know exactly when he's coming, so get back to work.
Yep. Brings out a good point. Long as we're here, we need to be working, don't we? Good point there. What about the next comfort? What kind of people? Faint-hearted. Disheartened was another word. Feeble-minded. How would you describe, what kind of person is that? Weak in their faith. Discouraged. Given up. I think we've all been in contact with a Christian that has given up. I think we can think, each one of us can think of, I can think of in my own family.
I was gonna say they lack confidence, possibly.
Yep. Life has got them down. And when it got them down, they lost sight of the prize. They lost their vision.
The thing that I think I see is that people with, they just lack an understanding that God is not going, everything's not going to be good all the time.
No, it sure isn't.
And I think a lot of people put so much faith in that everything should go great. And then when something goes bad, well, why did you do that to me, God?
And
It's like they want to blame something, find some, reason that it happened. And sometimes just things happen. Bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad.
And then what is it our job? Those of us sitting in the pew this morning, those of us that are strong, what is our job to do? Encourage, comfort, strengthen, as Onesimus did, just be there.
To help them understand that, life is life.
Yep. and just having a brother or sister there with you encourages and helps you. What we talked about a little bit last week, being there for each other.
You know, one of the things, I think that just about every faithful Christian has at times thought, I'm unworthy. And when you have that feeling, you sort of get lazy about doing what you need to do.
Yep. Life gets you down.
Yeah, you need to sort of kick yourself and get going.
There we go.
I have worked with the sheriff's department, and I spent almost 10 years in jail and a year in prison, but I did have the keys.
Thank you for the clarification.
The thing that I found about most of these people, they just want somebody to either respect them to the point of a human being, not what they did. Something I always told them when they come in, I could respect you as a human, but I do have a job to do, but yet be honest with them. And that's what, to me, I never felt threatened because I felt like they respected me back. And that's what they were looking for, somebody honest with them or respect. And like Betty said, that's all they're looking for. And they notice it too.
Well, and that brings up a good point as far as talking about the world or people that are not living as Christians, not living the Christian lifestyle. Everybody wants a little respect, don't they? Even if they're wrong, they want a little respect. And if you show them that, but then show them with what we talked quite a bit about last week, with love, that you want to teach them the right way.
Something I always told them, I says, what you did is between you and the courts, but I will treat you as a human being. And that put it on kind of an even territory, like that.
Yeah. Going back to our verse here, help the weak, not strong, building the others up. Be, what's this last? Patient. Long-suffering. I like the word long-suffering. That's kind of an old term to me, to think long-suffering in place of patience. But I think of when I've asked for patience, it doesn't happen instantly. Patience is something that's long-suffering. It takes a while. With all. In other words, those that we come in contact with. Carol and I were just talking this morning. Can I bring up your neighbor? We were just talking this morning about she had a neighbor that moved in and they didn't have the best relationship just right off the bat. But after time, they're neighborly to each other. Long-suffering. She was patient. And sometimes when we're talking to those that we're trying to encourage, trying to bring back, they don't come back instantly. They've let the world get hold. But we have to be what? Patient and just a little nag here and there, here and there. Just keep on keeping on. And eventually, hopefully that brother or sister will come back. If it's somebody that's never been a Christian, hopefully eventually we will win them and they will turn on. I think of a friend of mine that I grew up with that we've still hadn't kept in contact with anybody from high school or grade school except for one person. We lived next door to one another, and she had gone to vacation Bible school with us one time, and we had been little kids. I don't remember her going at all. And you know, we were talking in our mid-40s then. She had told me about remembering going, and she said, you know, I think about sometimes I just need to go to church. I need to, and she didn't grow up in a Christian family or anything like that. Just like, you know, something like that. 40 years later, you still remember. And, you know, eventually maybe that spark will encourage and get her life back right, get it right with the Lord. All right, well, we'll kind of go on to the next kind of a thought question here. What are some things that tend to cause discouragement in other Christians' lives? Our fellow brothers and sisters is who we're talking about. What are some things that we do or tend to do that discourage our fellow brothers or sisters? Go ahead.
Like being betrayed by somebody.
Okay. Not keeping our word. Being a human. Sometimes we let each other down. That's discouraging, isn't it? Fellow brother and sister tells me they're going to do something, they let me down. What's some other things that we do to discourage fellow brothers and sisters?
By not remembering them to extend comfort to them when you know that they are struggling.
There we go.
You know they already are struggling, and you don't, you choose not to reach out to them.
We have some fellow brothers and sisters that are in a nursing home up here. And how often, I'm talking to myself here, do I swing by and just say, hey, JC, good to see you. Checking in on you. That'd be encouragement, wouldn't it, to a fellow brother? He's not here because he can't be. It's not his choice. What about our fellow brothers and sisters that aren't here because they don't want to be? They woke up this morning. They wake up every Sunday morning, Wednesday evening, and they say, I just don't want to be up there with them.
Still encourage them to come back.
There we go. We still need to be involved in their lives, don't we?
Don't give up.
Yep. If we just drop them, are they ever going to have a chance to come back? Are they ever going to be encouraged to come back in the doors?
Because then they'll pretty much make up their mind, I'm not going back because nobody cares.
There we go. I think of some folks that I think most of us know that left and had the opportunity to run into them. And they said, we've been gone for 6 months and nobody has said a word. Nobody noticed. And they were so discouraged from that I don't know that they'll ever come back in the doors. Sometimes we just need to, when somebody's not here, whether, we don't know why. We need to be there to encourage them, strengthen them, let them know we're thinking about them, that we want them back.
Encouragement is a two-way street. You go and encourage somebody else, it encourages you.
There you go. Yep. Yep. You feel better when you talk to somebody that's.
The best story I ever heard on that deal was on John Hustick and his family moved down to Mississippi. So one Sunday night, he decided he wouldn't go, they just stay home. And after the church was over, the whole congregation come out there to see him, see why they were there.
Yep. That'd encourage you not to miss, wouldn't it? Oh. Just being the world, I think, is one of the comments or one of the thoughts that came to me. Can be discouraging to my fellow brothers and sisters. Just acting like somebody of the world. Not being special, not showing my love as a fellow brother or sister. Going along with that thought, what are some things that we might do to discourage? What are some things that I might say, to discourage a brother or sister when they're down? What are some things that I might say that would discourage them?
Any criticism is going to be discouraging.
Yep.
I mean, whether it's deserved or not, criticism is always a counter.
How does Paul start his letters?
Always admonishing,
A greeting, and the first is, do hit it right on the head while I say, he's building them up. The first thing he says is not what they're screwing up and they're doing wrong. He's building them up. As far as fellow brothers and sisters, when we go to a brother or sister that's whatever's going on in their life that may not be right, what's the first thing we need to do? Try and build them up. And then we can get into the nit and gritty stuff.
show them that you're happy to see them.
There you go. If you just start out discouraging them, you don't, in my opinion, you come to me and the first thing you say is you're doing this wrong, I'm shutting off because I don't think you're there because you love me. But if we go to somebody showing them, talking about the good things, and then go on, we show them what we love them. Another thought question before we get back into the verses here. What are some things that I might do to encourage a fellow brother and sister?
Send them a card.
There we go. That's easy to do, isn't it? We've got them right here on the back of the pew. Kelly helps us out with those too. Send a card. Call, text. Technology is easy.
You can let them know you remember, if something's happened in their family or something, you can ask them about it the next time you see them.
Yep.
Just let them know that you thought enough to remember that something occurred to them or something.
Pay attention to what, when somebody's talking about, had something happen in their life, didn't go right, listen to our fellow brothers and sisters. And remember that, and the next time you see, ask them about that situation. But I think the biggest thing here, something simple that we overlook, is text messaging, calling, cards. It doesn't take just a second to send a text.
Just as an example, with my life and Frankie's life, people know where he's at. They know he's been gone working. They know he's on the road. They ask me, they ask our kids. But he doesn't get the calls. He doesn't get the text messages. He doesn't get the cards. He doesn't get the encouragement. It's by word of mouth encouragement. And not to put anything on anyone else, but that does make a difference.
Yep. Yeah, and I think we're all guilty of that a lot of times. We'll ask about, I know I appreciate that, when asked about my mom, how she's doing and stuff, and I'll mention to my mom that, well, so-and-so at church said, but it means a whole lot more when she was down with her knee. She got cards from people here. She said, I don't really remember who that is, but it was encouraging. It's encouraging to hear from the source that you're thinking about them. All right. I'm going to ask you to dig into your thoughts a little bit here this morning and your knowledge. And what are some passages or some stories where Jesus encouraged others? Anybody think of some specifics there? Some specific stories where Jesus himself encouraged others. As you're thinking, I'm look here at John chapter 4. And I'm going to call on you here, or ask for involvement here. But John chapter 4 is one that I was thinking of. The Samaritan woman. We won't necessarily, everybody's familiar with this story. What was the story of the Samaritan woman? She was a woman leading a wrong lifestyle, very worldly lifestyle. She was with one guy. She wasn't even married to him. She'd been with many. Well known in town. Everybody knew what she was up to. And she comes to Jesus. They come in contact with one another. People are fixing to stone her. And what does Jesus do to encourage her?
Don't her go and sin no more.
There we go. When did he tell her to do that?
After he talked to those men.
Yep. First, he told the men who, without sin, cast the first stone. They all left after that. So who's left? Just him and her. When did he choose to tell her to sin no more, to go and change her lifestyle?
After he talked to them, that's the last thing he told them.
Yep.
He told her to go and sin no more.
He didn't do it he didn't call her out in front of everybody, did he? That was encouraging to her, wasn't it? Everybody knew what she was up to. She knew what she was up to wasn't right.
Well, see, he encouraged Peter after he had denied him 3 times too. When he told him, asked him, Peter, do you love me? And after he got through that, he said, go feed my sheep.
Yep. Carol?
I think Zacchaeus was encouraged when Jesus said, I'm going to your house today. I
Well, and what else about Zacchaeus? Besides being small in stature, what did he do for a living? He was a what? Tax collector. So how did the world look at him? As a crook. Not somebody that I don't want to associate with that man.
At least somebody who's dishonest.
Yep. But Jesus, through encouragement to him, what did the end of that story, what did Zacchaeus do?
Zacchaeus repented and he paid back.
There we go. Yep. He repented. He changed his life. What's some other encouragement stories? There we go. Last week we talked about at length there, washing the disciples' feet. How was that an encouragement?
Well, he was showing them what they were going to have to be like.
Yep.
You know, if I can wash them, you can.
Yep. He's putting himself lower than they were showing him what type of person to be.
Jesus was able to bring out show the weaknesses of our human lives without being judgmental. And that sticks with me that how can, that's what we all want to jump to is, well, my neighbor's doing it or my best friend's doing it. Why shouldn't I be able to do it? He was able to do that and show them that there's a better way.
Yep. Showed a better way. There we go. Everyone. Yep.
The woman who washed his feet with oil and then dried it with her hair. He praised her for doing that because the host of the dinner didn't even offer him water.
Yep. What encouragement to her.
I think of the woman that had the blood disorder that touched Jesus' hair. And at first, when he said, "Who did this?" At first she was scared to admit that she did it. But when she did admit it, he stated that because of your faith, you're healed.
You're healed.
That's an encouragement to her, even though she was scared at first.
Yep. Just the way he dealt with people that had issues, I guess would be the way we'd put it today. The attitude. All right. Class, we're winding down the time here. When we think of encouragement and somebody encouraging as far as their brother, Barnabas was what? Known as the son, the encourager, son of an encourager. So let's look here at a few verses. Get somebody to turn to Acts chapter 9. Acts chapter 9, verse 26. We're going to look at a few different verses here and then talk about Barnabas. Oops, what if I stay in Acts? Acts chapter 9, verses 26 and 27. If I could get a volunteer to read that.
And when Saul was come to Jerusalem, he essayed to join himself to the disciples. But they were all afraid of him and believed not that he was a disciple. But Barnabas took him and brought him to the apostles and declared unto them how he had seen the Lord in his way, and that he had spoken to him, and how he had preached boldly at Damascus in the name of Jesus.
All right. So from chapter 9 there, what did Barnabas do to encourage Paul?
But when everybody rejected him, he just took him by the arm more or less and said, "Here, we're going."
Yep. Confidence. Spoke boldly in his favor. That's encouraging. Have a fellow brother or sister
Somebody
stand up for you. There we go. We can learn from that. Barnabas stood boldly, was confident. And that encouraged Paul. Let's go on to Acts chapter 11, verse 22. A few pages over. A little bit longer, if I could get a volunteer, read Acts chapter 11, 22 through 26.
And
25 and 6.
All right. Then he went on to Tarsus looking for Saul. And when he had come across him, he took him to Antioch. And there they were with the church there for a year, teaching the people, and the disciples were first given the name of Christians in Antioch.
All right, a few different things here in this verse. What did Barnabas do to encourage? What kinds of things did he do? Okay, spending time with him. Didn't abandon him, stayed with him.
I encouraged them to keep, well, said exhorted them all with the purpose of heart that they would cleave unto the Lord.
Okay, what does it mean to exhort somebody? We don't usually
Lift them up, to encourage them, to
build them up.
push them,
Had a positive outlook. Ever been around somebody that's just negative everywhere they go? Got a frown on their face. They're not happy to be, I'm not happy to be around people like that. They're not much encouragement to me. What kind of person was Barnabas, you figure? I figure he had a smile on his face. He had a positive outlook. Had positive words. He was what? A good man, it says. He was a good man. And he also wasn't afraid to what? Speak. He wasn't shy. Got out there and talked. Let's look another, talking about Barnabas. Chapter 15, over a few more pages. Chapter 15, verses 36 through 40. This may be an interesting section to choose when talking about Barnabas and encouragement and encourager. What's going on here? Get somebody to read something we're all familiar with here, what's going on between Paul and Barnabas. Acts chapter 15, verses 36 through 40. You volunteer to read that.
And after some days, Paul said to Barnabas, "Let us return and visit the brothers in every city where we proclaim the word of the Lord and see how they are." Now Barnabas wanted to take with him John called Mark, but Paul thought best not to take with them one who had withdrawn from them in Pamphylia and had not gone with them to the work. And there arose a sharp disagreement, so that they separated from each other. Barnabas took Mark with him and sailed away to Cyprus, but Paul chose Silas and departed.
So what's going on between Paul and Barnabas? They had a little what? Disagreement. They didn't see eye to eye. And what can we learn here about encouragement from this story of what goes on between Paul and Barnabas?
They separated.
But what did they do when they separated? They both went ahead with the work, didn't they? And sometimes when we have a disagreement with one another, I still picture that Paul and Barnabas got along. Just because they went two different directions, they both went on to work. I don't think that they parted ways and said, "I'm never speaking to you again." I don't think it was that kind of parting way that went. Sometimes when we don't agree with a fellow brother or sister, let's go this route. Most of y'all are here married or been married. When you're husband and wives, do you agree on everything? When you don't agree on something, do you part ways and never speak to one another? You may part ways in that subject, but you still work as one, don't you? What about our fellow brothers and sisters? If we don't agree on what color the carpet is in the building, we don't agree on whatever, do we part ways and never speak on the issue? We just decide to let one be a winner, one be a loser, and move on, don't we? Carol?
I'm just gonna say that, they didn't disagree about doctrine.
No,
Or what God has revealed to them. They disagreed about who was the best to do the thing that they wanted to do.
his life. Not once. I was always amazed at how he could always strike up a conversation. He could just be talking to them at the grocery store, and all of a sudden, God would be in the talk.
Yep.
And it was so encouraging.
He was a good man. He was an encourager and strengthened. He was just a good man. Yep. Carol?
I see Paul as being strong and about getting the work done. And Barnabas, I believe he wanted to get the work done, but he wanted to help Barnabas. I think he wanted to help and encourage him.
They just had different ways about themselves. Go ahead.
You know, later on, Paul's in prison. In 2 Timothy chapter 4, he instructs Timothy, only Luke is with me, get Mark and bring him with you, for he is useful. John Mark, Paul's wanting him to come.
Yep.
He's useful.
They still had a good relationship, I think. I think a lot of, as far as we close out the class this morning, what we can see here from this example, as far as personalities, we all have different personalities. As far as my teaching style, what do? I ask a lot of questions. I was just telling Carol this morning, I do that because I'm not real bright, so I like everybody else to talk. So it's just not my style. But when we think about, like Michael teaches on Wednesday night, he's an excellent teacher. What's his style of teaching? You're more of a lecture type class. We've got different personalities, don't we? Nothing wrong with that, is there? We still get along, don't we? Some people learn when I was in school. Sometimes in some subjects, I learned better from a lecture style class. Some classes I learned better from where we were all involved in asking questions and doing that kind of stuff. Different topics, different subjects. Everybody's got a different style. Everybody's got a different way. And we all learn different ways.
Bring up Michael, the way he teaches. When he teaches, it's like watching a movie in my mind. Everything becomes so vivid, and you know how it just jumps out at you.
Yep.
And I wish I had that talent.
Yep, excellent teacher. But we've all got different abilities, and our different abilities are going to react with everybody different. What we need to be doing, the way I want to finish class this morning, is encourage you to use whatever ability, whatever talent you've got to encourage those around you, your fellow brothers and sisters, and those in the world.
Well, everybody needs a friend.
Yep,
And how can you be a friend? By being a friend.
being there, being a friend.
Again, you sometimes people say, well, I don't like that song leader, or I don't like that teacher. But what my response always is, yeah, they're willing to use it, so we need to encourage them all we can.
There we go. All right. Well, it's an encouragement to me that y'all are involved, that don't make me just stand up here and talk all morning. And hopefully you'll come back next week. Forgot what our subject next week. We're going to be showing patience towards our fellow brother. That'll be our subject next week, talking about patience. Have a good week.